In this lesson, we'll cover capacity planning. Now, capacity planning is a critical strategic planning effort that ensures that an organization is adequately equipped to meet any future demands at the right time and in the most cost-effective manner. When it comes to conducting capacity planning, you need to consider four main aspects of your organization's capacity, including its people, its technology, its infrastructure, and its processes. By balancing your current operational requirements against your projects for the future, you can effectively use capacity planning to ensure your business continues to operate smoothly over the long term. Now, first, let's consider the people element within our capacity planning. When you conduct capacity planning, it's going to be centered around your organization's people, and so you need to analyze your current personnel to understand their current skill set and available capacity, as well as forecasting your future needs so you can plan for the hiring, training, and downsizing of your workforce if needed. Now, when it comes to capacity planning for your organization's human resource component, you should be focused on ensuring that you have the right number of people with the right skills available to meet your organization's strategic objectives. For example, if you're running a retail store and you're conducting your capacity planning for the year, you might create a strategic plan to hire an additional 20 people to help you fulfill your anticipated surge in consumer demand during the upcoming holiday shopping season that occurs in November and December each year. So, your store might hire a bunch of seasonal or part-time employees on October 1st each year, so that those new employees will be ready to handle the increased sales period, provide better customer service, and ensure smoother operations at a time when your regular staff would otherwise be overwhelmed. Then, after January 1st, when that demand usually decreases, these seasonal positions will be offboarded from the organization so that the retail store can minimize its operational costs and the number of personnel until the demand rises again in the fourth quarter of that next year. Second, we need the technology element to be considered during our capacity planning. When it comes to technology, your capacity planning is going to require that you have an understanding of your current technological resources that are being used within your organization, including various types of software and hardware that you might utilize, the rate at which these resources are being utilized, and any potential future technological demands that might be placed upon your organization. As you consider the technology used by your organization, you also need to assess whether or not your existing technology can handle the projected growth, or if your organization needs to invest in some additional or newer technological solutions to meet the forecasted demand. For example, if you're running an e-commerce website, you should understand how many concurrent or simultaneous users your platform is going to be able to support before it's unable to process your end user's requests. If your platform is not designed to be able to scale up to create more capacity during a promotion or sales period, that could generate a lot of higher traffic levels for you, and then you could be losing out on potential sales because your servers can't handle the excess capability and your potential customers can't access your website because there's too many other people logged in and trying to make a purchase. In our modern networks, though, we can help overcome this issue by relying on cloud-based services that allow us to easily increase our storage or bandwidth capacity during any high-demand periods that we might encounter, and then we can automatically reduce these additional resources back to the lower levels in order to lower our operational expenses during the lower demand periods. Third, let's consider the infrastructure element of our capacity planning. Infrastructure capacity planning is going to involve planning for the physical space and utilities that are available to support your organization's ongoing operations. These physical spaces includes lots of different things, including office spaces, warehouses, production facilities, and data centers. For example, I used to run a large theater network operations center for the US government that supported military computer networks across the Middle East. As part of my role, we were very focused on our infrastructure capacity planning because our data center only had room for a certain number of rack-mounted servers. And because each server took up some amount of physical space, a certain amount of power consumption, and generated a certain amount of heat, we had to keep track of all of this. We had some pretty complex applications that we used to calculate exactly how much power would be used and how much heat would be generated by any server that somebody wanted to install inside of our data center. Now, because our data center only had so much square footage available for installing equipment, we had to be very judicious in our infrastructure planning to be able to capture the capacity planning we had and able to ensure that only servers that were needed to be installed locally were being supported, and we turned down several proposed installations because those services could be hosted remotely in the cloud instead of on-site, and this saved us additional space in our data center for other projects that required extremely low latency connections to support the end users. Fourth and finally, let's consider the process element of our capacity planning. Process capacity planning is going to focus on optimizing and ensuring that business processes can withstand any fluctuations in demand. This fluctuation could be an increase or decrease in demand because both of these could affect our existing operations within our organization. By streamlining our workflows, improving our efficiency through automation, or outsourcing tasks to a third-party vendor, we can ensure that our processes are being designed to support varying levels of demand that are being placed upon them. For example, if your organization is currently using a manual process to onboard your new employees and create their new user accounts on your systems, This could create a huge bottleneck if a large amount of people were all hired at the same time. Let's assume you're running the technology network for a large call center that supports a large e-commerce platform. Now, they know they're going to have a larger demand during November and December because of the increased holiday shopping by their consumers. So they decided to hire and onboard an additional 500 seasonal employees to work in the call center, and you've now been tasked with creating each new employee a user account so they can log in and perform their new work roles. Well, doing this as a manual workflow might take you days because of the large number of users that you need to now create user accounts for. But if you can automate this process so you can support the simultaneous creation of up to 500 user accounts at once, this would eliminate one of the bottlenecks in our onboarding workflow. So let me give you another example to bring all four of these areas of capacity planning together in a real-world scenario. Let's pretend that you're working for a healthcare provider that's planning to introduce telemedicine services to its end users. Now, first, we need to consider the people portion of our capacity planning. Here, we might find that we need to train our existing staff on using new telemedicine protocols and hiring additional staff with experience in conducting remote healthcare services. These actions would help us prepare our workforce to manage virtual consultations more effectively by having the right people and the right number of people assigned to this project. Second, we move into the world of technology inside of our capacity planning. And here, we want to ensure that we're investing in a secure and compliant telemedicine platform that would allow us to utilize robust cybersecurity measures. This might also require us to scale up the systems that we're using so they can handle an increased amount of end-user traffic and their associated healthcare data storage needs. Third, we need to consider infrastructure as part of our capacity planning. And here, we might need to modify the physical facilities to accommodate the use of telemedicine technologies, such as setting up dedicated spaces for healthcare providers to be able to conduct remote consultations in a quiet and secure area that is free of any interruptions or disturbances. Fourth, we need to think about our organization's processes as our final part of our capacity planning. By developing new workflow protocols for the scheduling, conducting, and following up of our virtual appointments, we can ensure that our end users, in this case patients, are being taken care of properly and efficiently. Some of the changes to consider involve the creation of any new procedures for patient data management that align with privacy regulations and the implementation of any best practices for remote healthcare to provide the best care to our patients. So, as we consider each of the four aspects, we also have to anticipate the estimated demand for our telemedicine services and then plan to support them accordingly while we seek to ensure a seamless transition for both our staff and our patients, all the while trying to maintain the highest level of quality for our patients. So remember, capacity planning is a strategic imperative that spans your entire organization. Capacity planning requires foresight, strategic analysis, and continual adjustments. And by adequately planning for capacity in people, technology, infrastructure, and processes, your organization will be able to respond effectively to market demands, seize opportunities for growth, and maintain continuous improvement and competitiveness within an evolving marketplace. Capacity planning is not just about meeting the demands of today, but it's also about being well prepared for the challenges and opportunities that we may face tomorrow.